Carrying conversations that you were never asked to carry, fear that is making decisions for you, and running without knowing where to look are going to be some of the conversations we have today in the closer episode of On the Move podcast. We saved the best for last. Bring him out from the back of the outfield.
That's
Jason
right.
Malone.
That's right. I'm back, everybody.
Do you have?
I was here at the beginning.
You were
And
very
then-
first episode.
Very first episode. And then we did a lot of episodes where I wasn't around.
That's right.
And other guys were teaching and you were talking with them.
I was.
And now I'm back.
Do you have a song that would play as you come to be the closer
Yes.
pitcher of a baseball game?
Yeah, like if I was a reliever, what's my walkout song?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
a great question.
Uh-huh.
And it would be Here I Go Again on My Own by Whitesnake. That would be it. Exactly. It would sound a little better than that. I hope you're not offended. But yeah, I think that would be it. Mm-hmm.
You don't want me just doing a cappella?
I do not
from the
want
left
you
field?
doing that. Isn't that like you're coming out by yourself though as the reliever? Here I go again on my own.
That's great.
It's not biblical.
I didn't give you that question before, but you really you had that ready.
Well, I've been asked this question before, and
that's disappointing.
It's not a biblical concept because you really should not be all on your own, obviously.
Yeah, I thought you were going to pick a worship song like any good pastor would. But,
right. I could do that. Yeah.
Hey, we're happy to have you as we kind of close out this 10 episode focus on faith in Hebrews. It's fun because I know you've been along with it the whole ride, and a lot of this has come, from your studying and things that you've been looking at, and honestly, things that you want for our church.
Yeah,
I'm
for sure.
So this last Sunday, you had the opportunity to close out the Hebrews study through your sermon, which was a little bit of kind of a, hey, let's fly back up 10,000 foot views, but also have some very strong application that we can walk away with.
Yeah. The author of Hebrews, led by the Spirit, knew what he was doing. And I talked a little bit about this, in chapter 10, he talks about the need for perseverance to those that he's writing. And then chapter 11 is, let me show you all the people who persevered. And that's what we've been kind of walking throughout the course of the summer. And those who trusted, I think the way we phrased it is those who trusted what they could not see more than what they could see. They were trusting in a God they couldn't see more than the circumstances that were right in front of their face. And then he comes into chapter 12, the first couple of verses, and he goes, yeah, run with perseverance. Mm-hmm. You need perseverance. Here's all the people that persevered. Run with perseverance. And so the way that lays out, I just thought it was really great for us to be able to take this summer and talk about that. So yeah, I loved being able to come back and take the first couple of verses of chapter 12 and in some ways put a bow on what we've been talking about throughout the course of the summer.
Which, if you have not had a chance to listen to other episodes of On the Move, we have unpacked some of those character stories through the different episodes of On the Move. But really, I think this last conversation and this last, episode 10 of On the Move here, we want to cross over the line of, you heard about people's stories, wasn't that magical? But we want to move into so what does that do for our daily lives?
Sure.
What do we do on Monday after hearing it on Sunday? And so I think 3 of the main stops that I want to have in this conversation, I really want them to be like internalizers, where you turn it in and look in the mirror and literally ask, God, what do you want me to hear through these conversations today? So we're going to have 3 stops from your sermon that I think were super, super impactful.
Sure.
And really one of the first ones was a big question I kind of heard was, what are you carrying that God never asked you to carry?
Sure.
And especially with this running language we had, I think it's a good imagery.
Yeah, it's really great imagery.
I'm glad to hear that you had dabbled in the art form of running.
Yes, dabble would be the correct word.
I don't know if people would have looked at your running capacity and said it was an art, but
yes.
We talk about these things that are carrying you. What I liked about how you started off that conversation was they're not necessarily bad things.
Yeah, that's right.
So how do you set up that kind of conversation about, as far as what do I need to drop that might not even be a bad thing? Why drop it? Why, if endurance is the goal, how does that apply and work its way out? But
yeah, the author talking about laying aside every weight. And then he also talks about sin that might entangle, but the idea behind laying aside every weight doesn't necessarily have to be a blatant sin. And that is a little bit of what I talked about. Sin is usually pretty good at announcing itself because we have the Spirit of God inside of us, and there's, hey, that's not right. Versus things that are weighty can feel real normal They might not be bad things. They could be a bunch of good things piled up together. And so, yeah, I think there has to be a regular, honest evaluation. I think this comes in I might be getting ahead of myself a little bit, but like it comes in your abiding with Christ, that you're constantly asking, hey, are there things that I'm carrying that you never actually wanted me to carry? And it is impacting the endurance in regards to my running the race of faith that you have for me. So yeah, I think there's seasons of life where those things might look different. Like just because it's something right now, it could be something different at a different season of life. That's what I mean by the constant. I think there should be constant evaluation. Like we're really good at picking stuff up.
Yeah.
We're really good at grabbing onto things. And the intentionality behind asking the Spirit of God to show us, oh man, I never asked you to pick that up and to carry that is a good thing to regularly be asking.
Yeah, that seasonal audit of
seasonal audit
of what's, because that's, I think any parent would tell you that with kids of life doesn't slow down as you get older. Like it gets more complex, it gets more
sure
full,
does.
More things competing for the calendar, which I like that because I do think that there is the inherent like, okay, obviously like sinful things, I need to put that down. But I don't think people go beyond that often enough to say, all right, what about the non-sinful things?
Yep.
What do I need to put down with that?
Yes.
And really having time to say, is there, one of the questions I had written out was, what is something in your life that isn't necessarily wrong, but it's making it harder for you to run the race God has given you?
Yep.
Can I give you one of my personal ones?
100%.
This is only a week old in my life right now.
Okay.
But it's made a big difference.
Yeah.
I have not allowed my phone to go upstairs in my house. And I've seen even just a week's course, the availability that's now available for like conversations with my wife.
Yeah.
I actually wake up faster.
Yeah.
And so even just like that simple thing of like, that was never a bad thing.
No.
I use it as my alarm clock. I bought one of those like old school digital
ones. You
ones.
did. Good for you.
The LED is so blinding at night though. I have to like put a little blanket over it.
That's funny.
But that was just like something small that I felt the weight of like, this is making it hard to run long time and like long ways. And it was just a simple act of, I think, self-auditing of like, I don't think this is healthy for me. What can I do about it? And I think it was that shedding off. And you had talked about that actually in episode 1 of noise. That was one of the things I remember you saying was there's just so much competing noise.
Yes.
And if you don't ever turn it off, where are you ever creating room for the Lord to speak in that? And so I love that question though, is what is something in your life that isn't necessarily wrong, but it is making it harder for me to run the race that God has given me?
Yeah. I had someone else stop me and tell me that they were taking social media off of their phone.
Mm-hmm.
There was it's practical. Like it just consumes too much of my time.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a bad thing, but man, the mindless, endless scrolling or whatever the case may be. Someone else along the same lines of, at this certain time, I'm putting my phone away for the evening and just kind of being done and being present. I think it lives in the never-ending news cycle that, there's plenty of people, I think, out there that just have the news on all the time.
Yep.
And every 10 seconds, it's breaking news. Like everything's breaking. Everything's big. Everything's, the biggest deal.
Right.
And if that's just constantly ringing in your ear all the time, and it could be a lot of other things as well. It could be any hobby that in and of itself isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it becomes what consumes you.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm gaming till 3:00 in the morning, or I'm out. I mean, I'm not a gamer, so I'll do one that
strikes me. Really?
No, I'm not. But I'm out at the golf course all the time. Like
Sure.
It could be anything, right? Just golf consumes me and that's it, or whatever the case may be. So yeah, I think it's that regular auditing. Maybe I gave a shout out to the book in our first episode, but I'll do it again. The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry is, I read it several years ago now, and it's excellent. It has a lot of practicality of like, here's some things that you could consider on slowing down and casting off some weight. So
one of the questions I think that's helped me in my life is to stop asking like, is this allowed? and more start asking, is this helpful for me to run?
Yes, come on,
And
say it. Yes, that's it.
I like that question.
Is it beneficial?
Yeah. Ask yourself that question this week. What is something in my life that is not necessarily wrong, but it is making it harder for me to run the race God has given me?
And to your point, if I could throw in a little tag here, share it with somebody.
Yeah.
Like go tell somebody, tell your community group, tell your women's group or your men's group or your buddies that you hang out with. Like I want to set this aside because there's something to that as well.
Yeah, it's great.
Like speaking it and saying that allows them to check up. Like, how's that?
Yeah.
How's that going? Give me some more info on that. I'll be praying for you in that regard. So yeah, I would ask the Spirit to show you what it is. Obviously, obey, walk in step with the Spirit, and then share that with someone that you trust that will celebrate that with you, encourage you in that, and continue to pray with you in that regard.
I love that. That's great. One of the other things I really heard you kind of drive in on was I think this idea that the greatest threat to a life of faith may not necessarily be like a rebellion against God, but it may be this slowly shrinking back because we're afraid to trust him. And so we've talked about, whereas fear started making decisions for you.
Yeah.
And one of the quotes that I pulled right from your sermon was, fear always clings to what is seen and immediate, but faith clings to the unseen but promised.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think this is a huge one. And again, the author of Hebrews really was speaking to their tendency or the temptation for them to shrink back. And if you read a lot of the New Testament, letters and whatnot, it's like this constant encouragement to the church to be the church and to don't shrink back. And there's going to be persecution and all this other sort of thing. And so, in that same vein, it is just this temptation to go. If you talk with a lot of people who share a part of their story about maybe what their relationship with God used to be versus what it is now, what you'll often hear from them is, from their perspective, he let me down. I don't trust him. I don't walk with him like I used to walk with him because he didn't come through like I thought he should come through. And some of that's on the church for how they've taught things. I think sometimes the church has taught if you do A and you do B, then God will do C.
Mm-hmm.
And when God didn't come through with C because I did A and B, then forget it. I'm not interested in that. And so, yeah, I think that's a really huge thing to process and to think through on the regular is, where is fear, a lack of trust kind of in your face right now based off of what you can observe and see. It's not that what you're walking through isn't real.
Right.
Faith and just pie in the sky thinking, like those aren't synonyms. Like it's not that your reality isn't reality.
Right.
And at the same time is what you're clinging to, what you can see in the immediate, the hardship that you're walking through, or is it in what has been promised?
I did a little research on running.
Yeah.
Now, because that's like it's the imagery of this whole conversation.
Sure it is, yeah.
And I've done a couple races. I've done what's considered like the Spartan races. So
sure. Oh, yeah.
14-mile in the woods, but you're like
carrying rocks and stuff.
There's like barbed wire involved. So I don't think it's really
crawling through mud.
I don't think that was the illustration used here.
No.
But when it comes to some like marathon and half marathon stuff, which I know you are a skilled athlete in,
yes,
you have the medals hanging on the wall.
Right.
I think it's interesting the concept of hitting the wall was what a lot of runners will talk about.
No doubt.
And especially in like marathon, half marathon stuff, that at 18 to 20 mile is where you hit this wall. And I think one of the things that popped out to me was they had a phrase for it. It was like fatigue resistance. And it was how runners train themselves to actually like gain nutrients through eating something, drinking something before it hits.
That's right.
And so when I think about like faith and fear, like it feels like that. It feels like sometimes fear can be that wall that like you haven't replenished and you haven't been connected to the vine. And so this thing starts to happen where you hit this wall where
that's great.
Now all of your attention is going on, and then all your decisions are being made through that fearful state.
Yes.
Which is like, that fear influence is going to affect generosity, forgiveness, relationship, calling, parenting, career decisions, spiritual risks, obeying God. Like it's all starting to filter through this fear wall that you're hitting on this race you're running. And so one of the questions I had on here is where might fear be keeping you from doing something you already know God is asking you to do?
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's a little bit harder of a question to ask. I think it takes some actual sitting down and like really thinking about like because I could feel like that could be a box of like, I don't know what I don't know.
Sure.
I'm sure, again, sit down with friends that really know you.
Yep.
And ask their opinion of, where might be some of those fear decisions being made that other people could even see as well.
Sure. And or fear of what may be coming that isn't even here yet. That's what paralyzes a lot of people, and you're listening today. It may be what paralyzes you. It's this constant running thought in your mind of all the worst case scenarios that may never actually come to fruition.
Yep.
But it is impacting your walk with the Lord because it's almost crippling and or paralyzing in the moment, even though the actual moment of what you're fearing about isn't here.
Right.
And so again, I think I did say it on Sunday in the message. It's like we live in a world, the water we swim in 24/7 is a world that is on purpose attempting to stoke fear in our lives, because that drives so many things for so many people.
Yeah.
And then not just the world you're living in is stoking it. It is also like life happens and hard things in life happen.
Yeah.
And there's things that we all, and I said that like in this race, there will be hardship. There will be suffering. It's not easy. And the Lord never said that it would be easy.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're exactly right. And I say this a good bit with folks when I talk with them. I think it was Tim Keller who said, everybody eventually ends up with a theology of suffering. The question is, are you going to begin to wrestle yours down to the ground before it shows up? Or are you going to be trying to this is to your point, or are you going to be trying to figure it out in the moment that you hit the wall based off of what comes at you in life?
Yeah.
And so
it's interesting to think about even like our social, social media influences, how literally so much capitalism is driven by fear. And it's like, I've got guys that knock on my door and they're like, are you willing to get overtaken by 1,000 spiders? Or would you like to pay $150 for me to spray your yard?
Sure.
Like, it's like, I don't want to get, kidnapped by cockroaches. And so, but there's insurances, there's 401ks, there's, like everything around us is surrounding this, like, but it could happen. So you better prepare for it.
That's right.
So it doesn't surprise me.
Your doomsday generator.
Yeah, exactly.
And enough food in your basement for the next 8 years.
It just surprised me it doesn't surprise me that also translates to our view of God of like, I got to prepare for the worst because like so much of our life is already doing that to us.
Yes.
Which is the opposite of what Scripture is calling us to do. And so,
but there is the flip side of that is there is a preparation that should be taken into account, because if you run a race, there is a training in any race that you should be some training for any race that you are running.
Right.
So like, I didn't pop out of bed and say, I think this Saturday I signed up, I'm going to go run a marathon. I've known a few people that have attempted to do that, but it's like all the running and all the training ahead of time leading up to that becomes critically important, especially for what you're talking about in regards to hitting the wall.
Right.
For me, mile 21. That I do. I remember
you're above average.
I remember it very well. I was like, I'm not sure I'm going to keep going. I think the top of my feet are broken. Like, I remember thinking that. I was like, oh, I have broken both of my feet at the top in some way, shape, or form. So, yeah, there's the training part that goes with that.
Yeah, and you alluded to this previously, but I think it moves us into our third point here of, the question isn't whether difficult circumstances are real. They are.
Yeah.
The question is, are they the most real thing in your life? And so we look at this question of, what has been getting more of your attention lately, as the kind of the topic of your sermon was, at this portion was, what are you looking at while you're running?
Yeah.
We talked a lot about your gaze and looking towards Jesus. But I think like, what are, some practical ways to unpack, just ways to train our gaze towards Jesus as we pursue endurance in this life, and try and attempt and move and make decisions to more fixate Are there some just common things that you've seen that have been helpful?
Yeah, man, I think this really dovetails well into what Charlie's been talking a good bit about lately with abiding. This looking to Jesus, the founder and the perfecter of our faith. That is a ongoing, continuous, present tense gaze. It's not a one time, I kind of looked over here and now I'm back over here on this other stuff. It is looking away from all the other stuff and fixing your eyes, being fixated on him. And so, yeah, I think it is the regular rhythms of creating space to sit and hear from the Spirit of God through the Word of God. I think it is creating rhythms of we will regularly come as a family or as an individual, like we're going to come to worship. And we're going to be reminded every Sunday, whether it be in Auditorium 1, Auditorium 2, Adams Mill, our kids in the spaces that they're in, because I know this is happening here at Fellowship Greenville and our kids in student spaces. Like your kids are going to be in environments where they're going to be reminded of who God is and who we are in him and what that means for the everydayness of our life that we're living the other 6 days when we're not here all worshiping together. It is a biblical community that actually knows and actually comes alongside. And, if you're in the running community, that is one of the things that I greatly appreciated about my foray into the running community. They really are for one another. Like the number of people who finish the race and then come back out along the path that everybody else is running and cheer for them and encourage them. You do see people who fall and you see people who stop and pick them up and put their, like I observed all of those things in the handful of races. I haven't done a ton, but like it is actually a really beautiful picture of community. It says, the author of Hebrews says, let us run. It is a communal call.
Yeah.
Your race and my race might look different in the circumstances of said race. But the communal call of running together is a really beautiful word picture there. And so that becomes a critical, essential part of actually gazing. Like when I get together with my buddies and they talk about their walk with the Lord, that is a part of me helping fix my gaze upon the Lord. That makes sense? And so I think, not to oversimplify it, it is the things that we regularly talk about around here at FG. It is cool to see more and more people that are stepping into that and experiencing that and kind of relaying that back to us.
Yeah, it's so good. Some of the past conversations I've heard through this series, through our people, broken down in simple this or that. I loved them was, to train our eyes towards Jesus. It's scripture before social media. It's prayer before panic. It's community before isolation. It's worship before worry. It's remembering God's faithfulness before assuming the worst.
Yeah.
One of the other things I studied in running was the way you don't train for a marathon is to run a marathon every day.
Exactly right.
And so I think that there's a massive amount of grace where you don't wake up and win running and sprinting every single day. That there's lows and there's highs.
Yes.
And there's sustainability and to train is not to expect perfection in this life. And so as we talk about faith, as we close out the conversation on this, faith is something we pursue to grow in every day. It's not something that's perfected. And so I pray that these questions that we've talked about in faith, what does it look like to look towards Jesus? What are the things that slow us down? Where is fear keeping decisions and making them for us? I pray that that's a continual prayer and a continual conversation that we have as a church, even though outside of this podcast, as we've been here. But I appreciate just your thoughts,
your
takeaways, as we'll continue this conversation through other sermons as well. But
yes,
this has been really a podcast set aside to challenge you in your everyday faith and to continue to charge you. Don't just let what you hear on Sunday not make its way into Monday and changing your life. And so that's the prayer of our team here at Fellowship Greenville. And we just pray that we continue to push and strive together to live a life on the move.